I started out in 1889. My first minor league experience, I was 15 years of age. And in Major League in 1897 with Louisville.
Honus Peter Wagner. Perhaps no name in baseball's dead ball era commanded more respect than that of the Flying Dutchman. We all remember the iconic bow-legged stance, the fierce competitiveness, the incredible range at shortstop. The stocky German immigrant who became baseball's first true superstar accomplished more in his 21-year career than players today could dream of in 3 lifetimes. But as legends grow larger over the decades, we can lose sight of what he truly managed to accomplish during those early days of professional baseball. The absolute eye-popping raw numbers, including over 3,400 hits, 8 batting titles, and a .328 lifetime average that still ranks among the best. We may remember the highlights, the time he stole second, third, and home in one inning, or how his baseball card became the most valuable in history, but we find ourselves forgetting the great stories like how Wagner went from a Pennsylvania coal miner's son throwing rocks at barn doors to perhaps the greatest all-around player who ever lived, or how he dominated an era when Ty Cobb was terrorizing the American League. Well, now it's time to jog our memory and appreciate the glory of baseball's Flying Dutchman. Step right up to the plate with us if you dare. When Honus Wagner signed his first professional contract with the Steubenville Stubs in 1895, he was 21 years old and came from humble beginnings. The Pennsylvania native was the son of German immigrants. His father Peter worked in the coal mines and raised 9 children on a meager salary. Young Honus grew up throwing rocks and balls at anything that would stand still, developing the powerful arms that would later make him famous. The bow-legged kid was a natural athlete who could play any position on the field, but had no formal baseball training whatsoever. This lack of polish showed early in his minor league career. Wagner bounced between multiple teams and positions, playing everywhere from pitcher to catcher to outfield. His raw talent was undeniable. He could hit for power and average, had incredible speed despite his awkward gait, and possessed one of the strongest arms scouts had ever seen. But he was also crude around the bases, made mental mistakes, and had the table manners of a coal miner because, well, that's exactly what he was. In 1897, the Louisville Colonels of the National League took a chance on the 23-year-old Wagner, signing him for $2,100. Good money in those days. His debut season was solid, but unspectacular. He was still learning the nuances of big league ball. What impressed teammates most wasn't his statistics, but his incredible work ethic and desire to improve. Wagner would arrive at the ballpark hours early, taking ground balls until his hands bled, studying opposing pitchers like a chess master. The breakthrough came in 1899 when Wagner moved to shortstop full-time. At 5'11" and 200 pounds, he was considered too big for the position. Most shortstops were smaller, quicker players, but Wagner's massive hands could handle anything hit his way, and his powerful arm allowed him to make throws from impossible angles. More importantly, his baseball IQ was off the charts. He studied hitters' tendencies, positioned himself perfectly, and seemed to always be one step ahead of the action. That season, Wagner hit .336 with 102 RBIs. But more significantly, he established himself as the best defensive shortstop in the game. His range was phenomenal. He could go deep in the hole and still throw out speedy runners, or charge a slow grounder and deliver a strike to first base while off balance. Opposing managers started calling him the Flying Dutchman because of how he seemed to glide across the infield. When the Louisville franchise folded after the 1899 season, Wagner was transferred to the Pittsburgh Pirates as part of a deal that would change baseball history. The Steel City was the perfect fit for the hardworking Wagner, and Pirates fans immediately embraced their new star. In his first season in Pittsburgh, Wagner exploded for a .381 average with 100 RBIs, announcing himself as one of the premier players in the National League. But 1901 brought new challenges. The upstart American League was trying to lure away National League stars with bigger contracts, and they made Wagner a massive offer to jump ship. The Flying Dutchman was loyal to Pittsburgh, though, and Pirates owner Barney Dreyfuss rewarded that loyalty by making Wagner the highest-paid player in baseball at $5,500 per year. Wagner more than earned his money, embarking on one of the greatest individual seasons in baseball history in 1903. He led the Pirates to the National League pennant while winning his first batting title with a .355 average. But the real excitement came in October, when Pittsburgh faced off against the Boston Americans in the first ever World Series. The matchup everyone wanted to see was Wagner versus Boston's young pitching sensation Cy Young. In Game 1, Wagner collected 2 hits off the future Hall of Famer, including a crucial RBI double. The series went the full 8 games, with Wagner batting .222. Not spectacular, but he came through in clutch moments and his defense was flawless. Though Pittsburgh lost the series, Wagner had proven he could perform on baseball's biggest stage. The next few years saw Wagner establish himself as the most complete player in baseball. In 1904, he won his batting title at .349 while stealing 53 bases. The following year, he hit .363 with 101 RBIs and 57 stolen bases. But 1906 was when Wagner truly announced his greatness to the world. That season, Wagner battled Chicago Cubs player-manager Frank Chance for the batting title in one of the most exciting races in baseball history. Going into the final day of the season, Wagner was trailing by a fraction of a percentage point. In a doubleheader against the Cincinnati Reds, the Flying Dutchman went 4 for 7 to win his batting crown with a .339 average. More importantly, he established himself as Ty Cobb's main rival for the title of best player in baseball. The Wagner-Cobb rivalry dominated baseball headlines for the next decade. While Cobb was flashy and controversial in the American League, Wagner was workmanlike and respected in the National League. Their styles couldn't have been more different. Cobb slid spikes high and intimidated opponents, while Wagner played hard but fair, earning universal respect from teammates and opponents alike. In 1907, Wagner put together arguably his finest season. He hit .350 with 180 hits, 98 RBIs, and 61 stolen bases while playing Gold Glove caliber defense at shortstop. His Pirates won the National League pennant, setting up a World Series showdown with Cobb's Detroit Tigers. The series was billed as Wagner versus Cobb, the 2 best players in baseball going head-to-head. Wagner completely outplayed his American League counterpart, batting .333 to Cobb's .200 while stealing 6 bases to Cobb's 2. In the decisive Game 4, Wagner collected 3 hits and scored 2 runs in Pittsburgh's championship-clinching victory. After the game, Cobb supposedly approached Wagner and said, "I guess you showed me who the better player is." Whether that conversation actually happened is debatable, but Wagner's performance spoke for itself. The next few years saw Wagner continue his assault on National League pitching. He won batting titles in 1908, 1909, 1910, and 1911. Wagner was much more than just a hitter. His base-stealing prowess was legendary. Despite his stocky build and bow-legged running style, Wagner swiped 50 or more bases 5 times in his career and finished with 723 stolen bases total, 3rd all-time when he retired. His signature move was stealing 2nd, 3rd, and home in the same inning, a feat he accomplished multiple times throughout his career. Defensively, Wagner revolutionized the shortstop position. Before him, shortstops were considered defensive specialists who didn't need to hit much. Wagner proved that a shortstop could be the best all-around player on a team. His range, arm strength, and baseball instincts set the template for future Hall of Fame shortstops like Ernie Banks and Cal Ripken Jr. Wagner's leadership was equally important to Pittsburgh's success. He was elected team captain and served as a mentor to younger players, teaching them not just baseball skills, but how to conduct themselves professionally. His work ethic was legendary. Teammates told stories of Wagner taking batting practice until his hands were raw, or spending hours perfecting different aspects of his fielding. The 1909 season represented the pinnacle of Wagner's career. At age 35, when most players were winding down, Wagner hit .339 with 100 RBIs while leading Pittsburgh to another World Series appearance against Detroit. Once again, facing Ty Cobb, Wagner batted .333 and stole 6 bases as the Pirates won the championship in 7 games. It would be Wagner's 2nd and final World Series. As Wagner entered his late 30s, many expected his production to decline rapidly. Dead ball era era players typically had shorter careers due to the physical demands of the game and lack of modern training methods. But Wagner defied Father Time, winning batting titles at ages 36, 37, 38, and 39, an unprecedented achievement for a player of his era. The 1912 season, he was clearly beginning to slow down. His stolen base totals dropped, and for the first time in his career, he began splitting time between shortstop and first base. But his hitting remained sharp, and he continued to be one of the most feared clutch performers in the game. Wagner's longevity was remarkable for his era. While contemporaries like Nap LaJoy and Sam Crawford retired in their early 30s, Wagner played until he was 43 years old. His final season in 1917 saw him hit .265 in limited action. A far cry from his peak years, but still respectable for a player pushing 44. When Wagner retired following the 1917 season, his career statistics were staggering. He finished with 3,420 hits, a .328 lifetime average, 1,732 RBIs, and 723 stolen bases. More importantly, he had redefined what it meant to be a shortstop and proven that a player could dominate both offensively and defensively. But Wagner's legacy extended far beyond statistics. He was baseball's first true superstar, the player who bridged the gap between the sport's primitive early days and the modern era. His professionalism and sportsmanship earned him respect from players, managers, and fans across the league. The most famous symbol of Wagner's legacy came not from his playing days, but from a decision he made regarding his image. In 1909, the American Tobacco Company included Wagner in their T206 baseball card series without his permission. Wagner, who disapproved of tobacco use by children, demanded that production of his card be stopped immediately. Only a few dozen Wagner T206 cards were ever distributed, making them incredibly rare. In 2007, one of those cards sold for $2.8 million. The irony wasn't lost on collectors. A man who wanted to protect children from tobacco had inadvertently created the most valuable piece of sports memorabilia in history. Wagner remained connected to baseball after his playing career ended. He served as a coach